Trump plans to decertify the Iran nuclear deal next week, which could launch a congressional accord. By decertifying the deal, Trump would kick the matter to Congress, which would then have 60 days to determine a path forward.
This decision stops short of completely scrapping the Iran deal, which Trump was against during campaigning. Details are expected later next week. President Bresciani really loves his campus, and he showed that Friday. He gave the annual State of the University address, which lasted about 20 minutes. The address is meant to inform the public about what has been going on at NDSU this past year. In his address, President Bresciani highlighted some of the successful students here on campus. He also praised how resilient NDSU has been over the past few years.
Throughout this address, my guess is you've come to appreciate why I'm so proud of our faculty, our staff, and our students. As I said at the outlet, it's truly a privilege to be a part of North Dakota State University. Our work enriches everyone around us. Thank you.
This is the 8th time President Bresciani has given the annual address since he became president in 2010. You can find the link to the full address on our website at ndsubin.com.
It's been 100 years since the dawning of World War I, and the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine are teaming up for a scholarship opportunity. Scholars under the age of 30 can write on the involvement of scientists and engineers that engaged in the war efforts. $5,000 research grants will be awarded to the most compelling essays, while the top submission will be awarded $10,000.
NDSU community members are invited to attend a tree planting ceremony for the late Dr. Amy Rupiper Taggart. Taggart passed away this summer after a battle with cancer. She was a professor of English, associate chair of the English department, and president of the Faculty Senate, among other titles. The ceremony is set for 2 p.m. on Friday, October 13th, just inside the Challey atrium of the Reinecke Fine Arts Center. Tragedy hits NDSU hard as sophomore Ellie Helm passed away this last weekend from an ATV accident. Helm was a psychology major and a member of Kappa Delta sorority here at NDSU. There'll be a vigil held Monday, October 9th at 8 p.m. at Churchill Field on NDSU's campus. Our condolences go out to the family and friends affected by this tragic incident. Free wireless internet access will soon be available in downtown Fargo. The Downtown Community Partnership recently passed the vote unanimously. The network would consist of a series of antennas throughout the area. The antennas would be set up all over the downtown area and would be placed on traffic lights, street lights, and city-owned buildings, blending in as best as they can. They'll be placed mostly around Broadway and the Roberts Alley, with 7 of the 10 antennas getting the green light to begin installation. The signal is not suitable for indoor use, so businesses and homes on Broadway will still need private connections. The project could be completed in as soon as 8 weeks.
Churchill Hall was rededicated last Friday in honor of its newly completed renovations. It was an open event, but a special welcome was given to alumni who used to live in the building when they were attending NDSU. Speakers at the event included Ryan Nostrom, President Bresciani, and Mason Wenzel. Bison Information Network reporter Alex Hart has more on this story.
The hall housed 192 students and 6 resident instructors. They thought it had many amenities and was, quote, well equipped. This year, those old amenities got a brand new facelift.
It is a complete 180. When I lived in Churchill my freshman year, it wasn't the nicest place on campus, and I'll tell you that. Now it is gorgeous. I would argue it's the nicest residence hall on campus by far.
Yeah, basically it's just being rededicated to all the former residents that have lived here and the staff that have been part of it. It's our intention to still keep the name after Omar Churchill, who is one of our former faculty.
One message that was shared throughout the event was that residence halls are the first home students experience at college, and for some, that memory can stick with you for many years.
I think this is a real highlight of how much we care about community at NDSU, and I think this is going to really help bring together the students in a way that, whenever we see these residence halls really go up, we begin to see that it builds a community for these freshmen.
But really just a nod that even though we've made everything look new, that we haven't forgotten the past and the history and those that came before us.
The building has stood for 87 years, and NDSU staff plan on that number lasting a great deal longer. Reporting for Bison Information Network News, I'm Alex Hart.
One of the biggest athletes in the nation came to NDSU this Wednesday. Shaquille O'Neal, a former NBA star, gave a speech on how his success had local roots. The speech was given to a crowd so large that extra seats had to be made. The main part of his speech was given to the local business community on tips that he had learned through his rise to fame. He dove deeply into the investments that he made during his playing days and on the ones he continues to make. He currently owns 162 restaurants and 150 car washes. The big man, however, did not give any opinion on politics of any sort.
See his personality off air. You know, you think he's probably this big superstar, and he's really just kind of a down-to-earth, like, good human being that does a lot for the community. It was really refreshing to see.
Basic but very simple. Just want people to say Shaq was a nice guy. It's true.
When you got your doctorate, your capstone topic was the duality of humor and aggression in leadership styles.
I wanted to see which leader was more effective. And I played for a guy that was humorous and funny. Phil Jackson, we won 3. And I played for a guy that was super aggressive, Pat Riley, we won 1.
It brings home the importance of family and having those connections to help drive your foundation of who you are, your virtues, and being successful in life no matter what it is, whether you're a professional athlete or a college student.
After the break, we'll take a look at today's Hollywood and Health Minute, as well as an update on Puerto Rico.
We'll be right back after this week's 7-day forecast. The horror of the shooting attack in Las Vegas was felt far and wide. Nashville held a vigil for the Vegas shooting Monday. David Daniel has more of that in today's Hollywood Minute.
Courage to not be afraid.
Mourning in the capital of country music. Amy Grant and Vince Gill helped lead a vigil Monday in Nashville for those killed and injured at the Country Music Festival in Las Vegas, just a week after a similar vigil for a deadly shooting at a Tennessee church.
NAACP.
Very good. You're going to Connecticut.
It's tough to celebrate amid such tragedy. As the death toll mounted in Las Vegas, studios canceled plans for Hollywood red carpet premieres of the movies Marshall on Monday night and Blade Runner 2049 on Tuesday night. The Blade Runner sequel opens this Friday, Marshall the following Friday.
Bill, if you'll come with me, you'll float too.
Fans of It definitely include thankful theater owners. After an awful summer, Hollywood set a September box office record with an estimated $700 million, largely due to the Stephen King smash hit, the first September release ever to gross more than $200 million. Without It, Hollywood's scary summer might have continued into fall. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Overuse of antibiotics can lead to resistance, a deadly and growing problem. Kim Hutcherson explains in today's Health Minute.
Antibiotic resistance is the ability of a given bacteria to fight off the effects of an antimicrobial drug. Instead of being killed off, the bacteria survives and continues to multiply. Antibiotic resistance means that illnesses that were once easy to treat could become dangerous infections. They can require more doctor's visits or a more expensive or more toxic kind of medicine. Sometimes drug-resistant infections can lead to death. The CDC says overprescription and misuse of antibiotics are the main culprits. So take antibiotics only when they're needed. Never pressure your doctor to prescribe them. Colds, the flu, most sore throats, most chest colds, and many sinus and ear infections are not caused by bacteria, so antibiotics will have no impact on them. Don't save antibiotics for use at a later date. If you're concerned about antibiotic resistance, talk to your healthcare provider. They can tell you whether you can get relief from your symptoms without using antibiotics. For today's Health Minute, I'm Kim Hutcherson.
President Donald Trump traveled to Puerto Rico to meet with officials and victims of Hurricane Maria. The trip comes amid some criticism that the federal government isn't doing enough to help the citizens of the American territory. Natasha Chen has that story from San Juan.
Shortly after landing in San Juan, Puerto Rico, President Trump and the First Lady met with people whose homes were ruined in the wrath of Hurricane Maria. Mr. Trump also met with first responders and local officials, thanking people like Puerto Rico's governor, who praised the federal response.
Your governor has been, who I didn't know, I heard very good things about him. He's not even from my party. and he started right at the beginning appreciating what we did.
In the room was the mayor of San Juan, who initially criticized the administration for its rosy portrayal of relief efforts. That prompted President Trump to tweet over the weekend about her poor leadership. Still, Mayor Carmen Yulin Cruz accepted the invitation to attend today and shook the president's hand.
I truly believe that they finally saw the connection or the disconnect between what they were hearing on the one hand and the reality of what is happening on the ground.
Do you believe that President Trump will move forward in helping you with those?
Well, I sure hope so. But, you know, sometimes his style of communication gets in the way.
Local residents told us they hope the visit will bring attention to their great need for more aid, but some are doubtful.
What expectations do I have of President Trump? Not many. First, we're very grateful. But we are as grateful as people from Louisiana should be, or as people from Houston should be, or as people from Florida should be. We're American citizens.
In San Juan, Natasha Chen reporting.
Authorities have released new details about the gunman behind Sunday's mass shooting in Las Vegas. They now say the gunman appeared to have booked rooms at hotels during other large music festivals. As CNN's Martin Savage reports, law enforcement is openly considering that the gunman had to have help at some point.
New video shows chaos at the festival exits.
Keep your head down, go!
Concert goers fleeing.
Run, keep your head down!
As the shooter kept firing from his hotel suite high above. Firefighters say even the nearby airfield was used for cover.
We also had people jump the fence, break through the fences, and get into the airport property. They were laying in between the runways trying to take cover because those areas are carved out between the runways and the taxiways.
The Harvest Festival turned concert killing field was just the latest big music event Stephen Paddock had loomed over in recent weeks. Authorities say he booked event view rooms at the Ogden in Las Vegas less than 2 weeks ago. During the large Life is Beautiful festival, annual attendance more than 100,000. Weeks earlier, a guest by the name of Stephen Paddock booked a room in this hotel overlooking Lollapalooza in Chicago, but never checked in. Attendance there north of 300,000.
It's concerning that an individual like this was thinking about potentially carrying out an attack like this in Chicago.
But it was from this suite on Sunday where the gunman executed his attack on country music fans. Authorities say not only did he shoot out of these broken windows, but unleashed more than 200 rounds into the hallway, injuring a security guard. Police believe Paddock, whose body is seen on the floor of the suite, had planned to survive and leave the building.
He was doing everything possible to figure out how he could escape at that point. His concern was personal concern versus what was occurring down below him.
Police confirm Paddock carried his arsenal into the hotel in 10 suitcases, but kept another lethal cache in his car in the parking lot. 1,600 additional rounds of ammunition and 50 pounds worth of explosives, specifically tannerite, seen here in a demonstration. All this leading to one key question. Did Paddock act alone?
Do you think this was all accomplished on his own? Self-value, face value, you got to make the assumption that he had to have some help at some point, and we want to ensure that that's the answer.
We're also learning more about his wealth. Paddock's home in Mesquite, Nevada, about an hour and a half from Las Vegas, was paid for in cash in 2014. The price? More than $369,000. On the application, Paddock said he earned his income by gambling, wagering about $1 million a year. Police say he was at the casino again Sunday night, all the while planning this rampage for later.
Back, Eric will have some sports news for us.
What do you have in store for us today, Eric?
We have Bison football, Minnesota Twins, football preview, going up against a former NDSU player, Bison soccer, and Bison volleyball.
Okay, we'll be right back.
The North Dakota State Bison football team looked to continue its dominant season when they opened up conference play against Missouri State. Here in the first quarter, you see the Bison getting warmed up for the take on the Bears. As you see Easton Stick drop back and hits Jeff Ilias, who's wide open for a 32-yard touchdown pass. The Bison were up 7-0 at this point. Later on in the first quarter, Lance Dunn takes it 18 yards for a touchdown. and the Bison would go up 14-0 here in the next play. Here in the next play, you see the defense rise up as a 4th and 1 as Robbie Grimsley and Nick DeLuca stops the Bears short, but in the next play, the Bears would get a safety tackling Lance down in the end zone. The Bison would go up 17-5 at the half, and they would not have very much success on the ground as they had a plethora of passing attack. Here you see Lance Dunn take it 44 yards to the house, bounces it on the outside. Bison opened up the scoring in the third quarter with a 24-5 lead. Here you see Bruce Anderson just juking his way through and spinning his way through as he turns on the afterburners, and he scores. The Bison would go up 31-5, and they would go on to win 38-11. Bruce Anderson had 106 yards on 11 carries and 1 touchdown. Easton Stick was 15-21 for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. North Dakota State will hit the road for the second time this season. They will face 2 tough opponents in Youngstown State and Indiana State. The Sycamores' record might be 0-4, but don't count them out. They got a last-second field goal blocked when they played Liberty, lost to Eastern Illinois on a last-second touchdown pass, lost to FBS Tennessee, and lost their conference opener to a tough Illinois State team. The Sycamores come in averaging 103 yards on the ground, while the Bison are rushing for 337 yards on the ground. However, in the last game, the Bison passing attack was very effective, and that could come into play just like it did against Missouri State this past Saturday. Indiana State may have an 0-4 record, but don't take them too lightly, as that record easily could be 2-2.
Some good things. They have some talented guys on both sides of the ball. It's a new coaching staff that I have a ton of respect for. I know some of their members of their staff, and they're playing at home for the first time since August 31st, so they're going to be excited to play at home. So it's another Valley game, and you've got to be ready to play.
The 2018 schedule is now complete after NDSU added its last opponent. The Herd will not be leaving Fargo the entire month of September. The first road trip will be when they go to Cedar Falls, Iowa to take on Northern Iowa. They'll have 7 home games for the year. After playing 2 straight games on the road against Northern Iowa and Western Illinois, they will come back home to take on the Redbirds of Illinois State, concluding the season with Southern Illinois on November 17th. After knocking off preseason favorite Denver, the North Dakota State volleyball team looks to continue their 8-game winning streak against Oral Roberts. Pick it up right away in the first set. You see Oral Roberts hits it over that, and Purnell gets a dig, and then Rasmussen sets it up for Gelsentite, but she hits it into the block, but the block goes out of bounds. The Bison were up 5 at this time. Purnell serves it over the net, and Oral Roberts is looking to capitalize on that, but Gelsentite and Rasmussen Erickson say no. The Bison would go on to lose the first set 25-21. Alex Erickson, you see here, hits the ball out of bounds, and the Bison would trail by 4 early on in the second set. Here you see Laura Milos hits the ball. Laura Milos hits the ball, goes out of bounds. The Bison would trail by 6 at that time. C.C. Madison hits the ball, and Golden Eagles would go up 21-18, and they would go on to win the set. They would go on to win the set and win the match 25-21, 23-25, 25-18, and 25-17. Mackenzie Burke led the Bison with 11 kills. The Bison are now 12-4. After picking up their first conference win against South Dakota, the North Dakota State soccer team looked to continue its winning streak against Denver. The Pioneers were able to net 2 goals in the first half and would take a 2-0 lead into the half. In the second half, the Pioneers added 1 more goal and would go on to win 3-0. The Bison were unable to get anything going and were only able to get 4 shots on goal throughout the entire match compared to Denver's 22 shots on goal. The Herd will now return home for a 2-game homestand beginning Friday. They will play Oral Roberts on Friday night beginning at 7 p.m. and Omaha Sunday with the match beginning at 1 p.m. They are now 1-1 in the Summit League. The Minnesota Twins made it into the wild card playoff game this year, and they had to travel to New York to take on the Yankees. After starting out hot, the Twins just could not seem to hit off reliever Hunter Green. The Yankees would go on to hit a couple of homers in order to pull ahead of the Twins. The final score of the game was Yankees 8, Twins 4. The Yankees will face the Cleveland Indians in the first round of the playoffs beginning tonight on FS1.
Coming up, we've got some highlights from our homecoming parade.
And we will be right back with that.
Thank you for watching this edition of Bison Information Network News.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter.
Check out our new website at ndsubin.com in order to see some new content posted daily, as well as links to some of our stories and in print from the Spectrum. Please enjoy these shots of the homecoming parade.